How you doing today, folks? So before I get started on this one, I have a little bit of a story to tell you. So I first purchased this knife from Oso Grande Knives. It shipped, got stolen by some punk ass holiday scalpers. I then found some other ones on fucking Reddit. A couple of those were priced too high. Another one on Instagram, shipped out, but then ended up being a fucking clone, and I had to roast that guy. Eventually, getting back my money, and then that was a non-issue. And now we have this one, which this box took me probably about 20 minutes to tear apart, man. And I nobody wants to literally sit in here and hear me swear at the fucking screen for 20 minutes while I'm cutting this thing open and also cutting my hands open at the same time. So I had to do a bit of an edit, but honestly, at this point in time, I can almost guarantee this knife will never live up to my expectations because of the shit I've had to do to get this in my hands. It's just outrageous. Mosa Grande is still not refunding me, and they're currently doing a claim, which is I don't know, kind of some bullshit to me, but whatever. We'll see what happens with that. But at least they're trying. That's something, I guess. And then this is again from the secondary market, and well, first one was a fucking clone, and this one hopefully is not. So let's get started. Throw out this horribly damaged, massively over-taped box. So we have a ZT box. This is not a ZT. This guy sent me about 80 something pictures, and I compared a whole bunch of other stuff with it, so I'm pretty sure it's legit. That's kind of funny. It's a Kaiser pouch in a ZT box, but it's not a Kaiser either. That's hilarious. Okay. So under all of this weird shit, we have a very lightly used Chris Reeve Umnumzaan. This has been an absolute clusterfuck to get. So let's see. I've had a few Sebenzas over the years, a couple Insignos, or Insigno, I can't even say the word, a couple fixed blades from Chris Reeves. I've always been curious about the Umnumzaan, but never really spoke to me. So let's see. Very smooth. Very smooth, actually. Now, it's not really surprising with a well broken in Chris Reeves knives, but generally speaking, his stuff takes a long time to break in. This is absolute butter, which is very impressive. Also, let's do a little bit of a schooling so you don't get had for a clone. First off, the spacers on a clone knife aren't conical like this. They are just like pretty much flat spacers. The clip is always longer. They'll rarely ever have this, and if they do have it, it's not one piece of it. It's like a secondary attachment point. As you'll see a small screw there. Also, they always fuck up these kind of like where the O-rings are at. So this all looks good. I do not have the actual COA card, certificate of authenticity. So I'm going to be taking a whole bunch of pictures, sending them over to Chris Reeves, trying to get that whole thing verified. Might have to send this over to them to get my own card, in case I ever want to resell this and not have to take a massive hit on it. I did get this for a pretty damn low price, given the guy didn't have the box, the card, any of the goodies. Just had the cloth, which apparently from a Sebenza, not a Umnumzaan, but my overall first impressions as far as the action. One, they always say this one locks up quietly. I watched a bunch of videos and they're like, oh, it just is this loud clack. Maybe for other people, for me, it locks up very solidly and very quietly. Makes a little bit of a clack when you close it, but the opening, it's completely silent. Also, I'm getting over a bit of a cold, so if I sound a little congested or whatever, if I can't talk for a second, that's what's going on. My throat is not doing too well. But the action out of the box is actually really, really nice. Well, not out of the box. Again, lightly used, but again, you don't really see too much. As far as I can tell, it's the original edge. Yeah, it's the original edge. So very lightly used. If I had to guess, probably carried, never actually cut. But the action out of the box, stellar. Normal Chris Reeve floatingness, which is reserved for a well-used Sebenza. When you first get most Chris Reeve knives out of the box, they honestly kind of suck. They're not gritty or anything. They're just very, very stiff. I'm not quite used to opening this. All the Chris Reeve knives have kind of a weird opening mechanism. Certain ways you have to do it. I keep trying to take it from the scale and pop it out. But I'm noticing as I'm playing with this that I kind of have to go from the bottom. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it. If you guys have an Umnumzaan and you know a better way to open it, please comment below and let me know. Overall, first impressions on this are, man, it's really hard to be impartial right now because I went through such hell to get this, and I'm still going through kind of hell to get my money back for the first one. So, man, fuck. All right, let's try to be impartial. The action is very, very smooth. It's very nice. The bead blast texture, if that's your thing, is good. It's a mixed titanium grippy, which is a rare thing. Texturing's nice. I do like the kind of crisscross pattern. The R for Reeves is nice. It's like there might be a little bit of corrosion in the Reeve piece, but whatever. So I've never really understood the purpose of this glass breaker. It's actually one of the reasons why until now I didn't really have any interest in this piece. This just seems like a random addition. I've seen some videos, definitely effective, but you know why. Fun fact, if you hit a glass window with just the butt of the knife, or even the front, especially if you use this kind of conical piece right here, you'll break glass. It's not an issue. You don't need this little nub here. This is just a weird design choice that personally I kind of think it detracts from the knife, but it's a design choice, which means it's aesthetics, which means it has to qualify for a pretty minimal point. But yeah, first impressions, in terms of action, 100%. It's amazing. It does not rocket out or anything. That always happens over time with Chris Reeve knives, but this one's it's very smooth. Might need a little more grease in there. Might mix with some KPL, but very nice. The fit and finish is always nice. The tolerances of Chris Reeves are always amazing. You can see how narrow that piece is. Also, another big warning sign when you look deal with clones is that you will see, one, you won't see that, that's the fluorinated grease. They'll use like regular KPL or other things. Also, the tolerances, which is how this piece right here is milled, won't be nearly as precise. As you can see here, there's like no gap at all. It's just absolutely perfect. With a clone, they're not going to bother to do all that. So don't be had. It's hard to tell in pictures, but as soon as you get it in hand, man, it's very, very obvious. But anyways, I keep rambling. I'm sorry, folks. It's been a long couple of days. Action, 100%. I love the smoothness. One thing I don't think a lot of people get is that it's easy to make a knife flick out, right? It's not, I'm not going to say it's easy to have good action on a knife, but it's not the hardest thing either. To make a knife to where you really just take it and you go very, very smooth, and it just feels like kind of two planes of greased glass just sliding against each other. That's really, really difficult. Now, I challenge you at home to take your paramilitary 2 or any of your regular user knives and open them slowly and tell me if you don't feel grit. As on this very well-used PM2, there's absolute grit. There's a lot of it. I got some pretty expensive knives in my collection, and even those, when you open them slowly like that, have quite a bit of grit to them. The grip tillion is actually surprisingly smooth, but definitely nowhere near what a Chris Reeve is. So a couple size comparisons with the Umnumzaan. And I know this whole this thing's just going backwards as all hell. We're going to reviews, to size comparisons, to rants, and everything else. So please bear with me, folks. But as you can see, it's not a small knife. It's a very sleek, interesting knife. Aesthetic-wise, I'm not a fan of that little glass breaker thing, but otherwise, I actually really enjoy it. This is the lanyard that comes stock with all Chris Reeve's knives. I've had 6 so far, and they've all came with this. I've had some Sebenzas and other ones. They've all come with this weird little lanyard. I always cut it off and I tie my own because, I don't know, I just don't really like that. It's actually kind of a hard little knot to pull off, but I just don't like the way it looks. So that'll be cut off shortly. But aesthetic-wise, besides that glass breaker, honestly, 100% love it. I am going to have to give this a pretty big knock because this little cutout here is really, really painful to disengage. Look, I just like one little pop and it just left a fat red mark on my hand. It's also from me fighting the box. So that's definitely an issue. Also, when you're kind of, holding it, again, I don't know why they did this, because the original, I remember the older models didn't have this, but this piece, how it kind of sticks out as an immediate hot spot, it's actually really, really uncomfortable. If you hold it very lightly, it's not so big of an issue, but if you put any type of pressure on it at all, it immediately really, really hurts. It's not just a hot spot, it's like a genuine pain spot. So for this being a $450 knife, that's not good. Nick Shabazz would call it ugly. I just say it's not good because I'm not Nick Shabazz. I'm not going to pretend to be. But with all that being said, despite that one issue, I'd probably give it a solid 85. Now, most of those point detractions are coming from this lock bar because Chris Reeves are known for their ergonomics and their tolerances, right? So if you intentionally design this piece, I mean, look at that. That's sharp. That sticks above everything else. That's very clearly going to be a hot spot. The moment you hold it, it's going to be a hot spot. I don't think anybody's going to be able to feel this right here and go, oh yeah, that's comfortable. There's not enough of a gap here. You might want to make it into like a finger troll or whatever. They could say like that, it has this little swoop piece here, but there's not enough there to actually do anything with. And even if you just happen to have smaller hands and can fit right there, it's not comfortable. So that's an intentional choice. The Umnumzaan is actually a pretty old model. It's gone through multiple revisions and it's still there. That's not good. It's actually really, really quite bad. As far as the action goes, again, amazing. Fit and finish, very nice. I love the scales, but that piece right there is a really heavy detractor for me. The Sebenzas do not have that. They feel absolutely fantastic in the hand. I do have these 2XL hands. So most Chris Reeves knives, I can't really carry without a lanyard. So as you can see with this one, my pinky's sticking out. Which isn't a huge deal because most knives don't fit my giant ass hands in general, so I've just kind of grown to get used to it. But that's definitely something you really have to take into consideration if you have larger hands. Are you okay with having a lanyard attached to your knife? And if you have any size hands, are you okay with this stabbing the shit out of you all the time? I'll let you know in my actual review how this really starts to affect it over time, but the initial first impressions are, this one honestly would have been 100% first impressions, 10 out of 10 knife. That hot spot is so bad that it has to be an absolutely major detractor. Again, Nick Shabazz, I think, would call that ugly. I have not watched his review for this knife, but if I did, I'm pretty sure he would call that ugly. But it is an absolutely gorgeous piece. Has a few different issues with it. I hate this kind of, conical glass breaker thing. But that's aesthetics, that's a choice. It's not necessarily affect the function of the knife. If you use it as like a flipper, that'd be cool, but yeah, no, that just hurts. You can get it that far, and I guess you could wrist flick the rest if you wanted to, but that's not really what these knives are for. So yeah, overall impressions are going to be an 85. Still an immensely positive score. Again, this is a $400 or $450 knife. I really do want to make it very clear to everybody that if you're looking for these knives to flick out and to be fidget pieces, they're just not that. But they do have this amazing smoothness that is almost entirely unique to Chris Reeves. These are also knives that will last you the rest of your life. Their warranty is fantastic. Your blade doesn't cost much. No more scales, blasting, spot treatments, everything else. You're buying a whole package. You're not just buying a knife. So Chris Reeve is an absolutely fantastic company to go for. It's no longer managed by Chris Reeves, from what I understand. It's by his son, which I think his name is Matt. I'm not positive, honestly, so don't quote me on any of that. But I have dealt with him since then with my Sebenzas, and he is an absolutely fantastic person to deal with. I did prefer dealing with his dad just a little bit. His dad is a lot less bullshit. Not saying that's kind of might be the wrong way to put it. His dad is very blunt and very to the point, and Matt Reeve, or his son, tries kind of dances around the points a little bit and isn't as direct. He's probably more people friendly than most people, but I'm kind of a brutal person, and I appreciated that brutality and that being very direct. It's also why I'm a huge fan of Greg Medford. Most of his designs are kind of polarizing, but as a person, he says some really out of pocket shit that I fundamentally disagree with, but I like talking to him because there's no bullshit there. So anyways, this has been kind of a long one, a little bit of a ranty piece. Very tired, haven't uploaded a video in a couple of days. Me and my wife have been on vacation, and in the process of that, managed to get myself sick, and things are honestly pretty poor right now. But it's Christmas Eve, and I want to upload a video for you guys and tell you all happy holidays. Thank you all for your time, your likes, your subscribes, your comments, your messages, everything else. It means the absolute world to me. And please do the best you can to be a better person tomorrow than you are today. And I do promise you will find your center in life. And the moral of the story is, keep on fighting. If something gets stolen, if it seems like it's not meant to be, keep on pushing. It'll come eventually. Even though I'm being honest with you guys, I kind of wish I would have just left this one alone. I'm a huge fan of the Sebenza. This is, again, 85 is all right for a lower price knife, but $450 for an 85% knife to me it's not the greatest. Again, 85 is still a good knife, but it's not ideal. Here's hoping after some use and some pocket time, that whole opinion changes, but as of right now, again, 85, less than satisfied, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, take care, folks. I love you all, and bye.